Welcome to another Offside Trap, our 8th installment.
We keep guessing on the number every week. You'd think
we
now we'd know
seven,
how many
we have 7 matches played. We do it the week of the match. It's match week 8 for Atlanta United anyway, because we're dealing with a stupid MLS schedule, which we're having to get used to, which these guys I'm sure are used to quite a bit by now.
Math checks out.
Math checks out, yeah. Week 8, going into match week 8 against SKC away in Kansas City. Going to the place where Jacob Peterson stuck a dagger in the heart of his old team 2 years ago.
That's right.
And stole 2 points. Right. And we are being – oh, go ahead.
I was going to say old Jorah Mormon himself.
And we're being joined by Jimmy and Dan of No Other Pod. How are you guys tonight?
Doing great. Thank you for having us.
Good to be here.
Yeah, we started this show and then we told you we're going to go live and had to do a wardrobe change, which I appreciate. So what kit did you end up putting on? I couldn't quite make it out.
It's old school, man.
Get the retro on, man. The Wizards jersey.
Oh, very cool. Very
cool.
Okay, go back. So I take it you've been a fan of SKC and Kansas City Wizards for a while now?
No, I'll tell you, it was very weird. I mean, when I was younger, I went to a few games here and there, but then kind of just fell off the train and didn't really get back into it till after the rebrand. Like, I think the whole marketing structure and when they changed over to Sporting Kansas City, I was one of the fans that was, just captured like everyone else,
When did that happen?
It's like 2011, right, Jimmy?
2010, I want to say. Yeah.
So what was that whole so what was the vibe like going through that process? Obviously our familiarity with the league really didn't start until 2015 or so. So what was the process like leading up to it? Why was that decision made in general? I'm just not well versed in the whole rebranding effort and why that happened. And then what changes did that take within the culture that maybe enhanced it or at least just changed it moving forward over the past 8 years or so?
Yeah, it started with a new ownership group. They bought the club, I want to say in 2009. They were still the Kansas City Wizards. They saw just a lot of potential with the club. They wanted to build a soccer-specific stadium, and they also wanted to do just a rebrand because, the Wizards, it was a name that was familiar to people in the Kansas City area, but also it hadn't been the most successful club. So they just kind of wanted to take the opportunity to rebrand and see if they could bring something new. So it's a tech company, basically some founders of a tech company based in Kansas City bought the club, went through a whole rebrand process and announced the name as Sporting Kansas City. And actually, when they first announced the name, people did not like it. They were not a fan of the name Sporting Kansas City because they're like, oh, great, now we just have another sort of hybrid Euro name that,
right.
The Wizards was such a unique name, but people just never really bought into it. And the rainbow colors, people were kind of thought it was just a little childish. So really what the big thing was the new stadium. When they built the new stadium, it was Livestrong Park back then, and then it became Sporting Park, and now it's Children's Mercy Park. I think that showed an investment in the club that hadn't been there yet. They were playing in Arrowhead. They'd get like 2,000 people at Arrowhead. It looked terrible. Once we got what was pretty much a state-of-the-art facility for the time in MLS, and then they brought in Peter Vermees as manager, who had played with the national team and was Sporting Case with the Wizards. He'd won MLS Cup with the Wizards. Everything just kind of hit on all cylinders at the right time, and 125 MLS sellouts later in a row, they made the right decision, and Peter Vermees has just really brought some stability and success to the club. And when you win, you guys know, when you win, people show up. So
yeah, absolutely.
It helps.
That's a hell of a run. 125 consecutive sellouts.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It just ended like a couple weeks ago, right, Jim?
Yeah, unfortunately, the Red Bulls game, the Kaku game, when he kicked the ball at our fan, they were like just a couple hundred short of a sellout. I blame Game of Thrones because it was the premiere of the season. So,
oh man, there's too many things to unpack there. I want to get your take on the Kaku incident, but also one of the things we're fighting. You guys are there locally, so you can actually go to the game. But that was one of the big things that we had to talk about. We've got to make decisions here on whether or not we watch Game of Thrones or the game on Sunday.
No, just you.
Yeah, we'll both be there at the game. I know.
We'll be there, yeah.
You can watch Game of Thrones later that night.
I'm terrified of spoilers, man. I can't do it right now.
You got to stay off Twitter.
You don't have like a you don't have like a notification system set up on your phone, like with the ESPN or the Score app, right? You're not getting alerts whenever somebody dies in Game of Thrones. Like, just stay away from Twitter.
Random things happen, man. I got penny bets. I'm doing penny stocks, and I'm doing life trading for Game of Thrones right now. I got a lot of
bets on.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm doing a lot of Game of Thrones prop bets right now. So what, Dan, what were your thoughts on the whole Kaku incident a couple of weeks ago?
Whew, we got real hot about that incident. Don't oh boy me. Did you just oh boy? Because you knew I was
did.
about to get heated.
Oh, it's coming.
Nah, man, I was a section away from this whole debacle. I mean, Jimmy's up in the press box, and I'm down there with us peasants, while Jimmy's up there in his air conditioning and everything. But man, he just blasted that dude right in the face, and we all got real hot. I've never seen so many middle fingers in my life, just throwing them Kaku's direction. And Kaku didn't seem so remorseful, despite what the PR team probably made him write on Twitter. So,
yeah. And then I guess the ultimate decision comes down for a 2-game suspension.
yeah.
I think it's
like
a
that.
pretty light call in our opinion. I think it's maybe not as severe as what some people were calling for his head and a full season ban, but I think there's certainly some happy medium in there between the two.
Definitely happy medium, because, I mean, what if nothing else, this just the MLS front office, the disciplinary board, what have you, all this shows is that they're not taking fan safety seriously enough, because violent conduct where you get a straight red on the field, more than likely you're going to end up with a suspension for 3 games. I mean, you're going to miss the game that you're going to get kicked out of the game you're at, but you're going to get a 3-game suspension. But I mean, the player or the fan took a pretty good shot, right? I mean, concussive or concussion.
Went to the hospital. Right?
Yeah, there were reports from someone who posts on Facebook from someone who I've had a number of people confirm to me is the fan's sister who was in attendance at the game, and she was saying that he had a concussion and could not really remember the incident, couldn't really remember the rest of the Red Bulls players coming up after the game and sort of saying what's up. But yeah, he supposedly spent a night in the hospital and came out the next day with a concussion. And
that's crazy.
I think it was Rob Usry. I don't know how you pronounce his name, from Dirty South Soccer, who pointed out that back when I think it was 2012, Breck Shea got a 3-game suspension for like just lightly kicking the ball at like a referee's legs, and Kaku gets a 2-game suspension for blasting a fan in the face.
Everything's worse when you're Breck Shea.
Yeah,
that is true. You've learned that the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, you said you've never seen so many middle fingers. You haven't had Breck Shea play left back for your team. So
my God.
Thank our lucky stars every day. So.
Yeah, it's been a fun season so far.
You guys have been dealing with an uncharacteristic season given the recent success, right? I mean, you guys are kind of in the same mired slump that we're in right now, where it's not up to snuff, not up to par, what you're used to given the run of form of the past few years. I mean, what's the temperature like over there?
Yeah, I think, the season started real hot with, the success that we had in the Champions League, beating Toluca 5-0 on aggregate.
That makes one of us.
Coming back.
But we suffered the same fate by the same team. So there's that.
Yeah, right. Monterrey is another level, man. But, things were looking up that we made it farther than any other MLS team in the Champions League. And then injuries, man. When injuries hit you, they hit us, and they hit us hard. Roger Espinoza is one of the heart and soul members of our team who's been around for years. He's out for like up to 3 months. Beasler, he's out for a few weeks. I mean, Dan will tell you the importance of those guys for the team. So
the Beasler injury is unreal, man, because our defense has been crap these past 2 games, and it's like, does he really make the whole difference on that back line? He's just one man, but it sure looks like he might. So we're scoring goals, but we're also giving up a hell of a ton of goals too.
Yeah, that's the big fear that we have here. One of the points that we made was that Atlanta United's not really creating a whole lot of chances and scoring a lot. And that's maybe my biggest fear going up against SKC, who is conceding a lot of goals, but they're also putting up a lot. So right now, who do you think puts SKC in the best position to get the result and ultimately the win? And who do you think is the biggest liability going up against Atlanta United right now?
Oh, man, I think if you look at what went wrong with the New England game, we were down 3-1 in the first half.
Crazy game.
the defense was bad, but the midfield was almost non-existent. We started the game without Roger Espinoza because he's hurt, but we also started the game without Ilie Sanchez, who's our number 6 defensive midfielder. He's really the link between Tim Melia and the attack. And there was just no, look at the passing charts. There was no defense. There was no creativity in the midfield for us. And then he came in to start the second half, and that's when Sporting KC started making some noise. So I would say Ilie might be the key to Sporting success.
But look at the bad things, man. I mean, you're talking our whole back line. You got Johan Krause playing left back, and he's like he's our utility player. They just stick him wherever because we pay him too much money to let him sit on the bench. So, but all teams are doing is kicking the ball behind him because you have an out of position left back and you have a center back pairing that don't play together at all. Abdul Guadabaye, he's been here for like a minute, and Andreu Fontes makes $1 million, but is kind of slow. I don't know.
Yeah, so there's been some challenges.
I was gonna say, it sounds like a lot of negatives. Surely there's some positive. Somebody that can put you guys in a position to at least score some goals, right? Somebody's scoring over there, clearly.
Yeah, Christian Nemeth has been definitely a bright spot of
former
the season.
Liverpool great.
But yeah, he came up through the Liverpool Academy. He had a hell of a season for Sporting in 2015, playing on that left wing because that's when we had Dom Dwyer playing striker. He went away for a few years, went to the Revs. Brad Friedel didn't know how to use him or apparently anyone else.
Or anyone.
And so he came back to Sporting KC, and Peter Vermees just believed in him, said he's a true striker. He's a striker unlike we've ever had, and he's been lighting it up. And then Johnny Russell on that right wing. You can't say enough about Johnny Russell. He's the creative,
dangerous.
Danger on that right side. He can take people on one-on-one. He can take people and split them 1-on-2. If Breckshay does start the game at left back and we got Johnny Russell on the right side, I'd be feeding Johnny Russell all game long.
I don't know if you saw it, but as soon as you started talking about how great your right wing was, I made a look at Tim because that's been the one thing that teams consistently try to expose against this Atlanta offense or Atlanta's defense is trying to pull Breckshay. I don't think that Breckshay has been consistently a bad defender. I think his weakness is that he's going too far upfield and not quick enough to track back and to be in a position to defend, that we get exposed consistently at that left back position because he's out of position and can't make the defensive plays that he's capable of making, but just isn't there to make them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you have a talent and a standout at right wing, that makes me at least a little bit.
We have, as somebody in the live chat in our episode that we did earlier said, it's Russellmania versus Gresselmania.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, it really is, because that's the same thing. I mean, for you guys to talk about the weakness in your left back, we've got a former Rookie of the Year in Jillian Gressel over at right wing on our side. So I think the battle could be won at the right wing position for both teams. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fascinating.
So another question we got from the live chat previously that I mentioned to you guys before we started the show. I don't know how much you guys know about Atlanta. A lot of it seems to be met with some apprehension about the plastic fan base and bought not built. And we've heard the full gamut of Twitter kickback and pushback to Atlanta United over the past 3 years or 2 years, 2.5 years, whatever it is now. But everybody's got some story or something that I don't know if it sounds cocky. I think that everybody has something from another club that they admire or that they can appreciate. And one of the suggestions we got from the live chat was, of the things that you know about Atlanta United, are there any things that you think that the team, front office, fan base, culture, whatever it may be, is doing really well, or that you look at on a highlight reel or something else and say, wow, that's really awesome. I wish we had more of that in SKC, and maybe set up a sort of barter trade deal between the two clubs here on maybe some things that you guys wish you saw more of in other clubs or something like that maybe we could learn from.
It's interesting because I think the first thing to say is we're a little jealous the way Atlanta spends. I mean, you guys spend a ton of money on your players. That's no surprise. And Sporting they kind of spread it around a little bit, kind of share the wealth. We don't have multi-million-dollar players and whatnot. Atlanta, the fan base is just absolutely insane. I mean, until y'all lose and start tweeting about the sky is falling and all that, you know.
It doesn't take long, does it?
People want to, you know, selling their season tickets and whatnot. It gets pretty crazy. But I think the first thing that just pops to mind is just the spending. I mean, bringing in Pity Martinez, Joseph Martinez, any other Martinez. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, and just to see 70,000 plus fans in a stadium filled consistently. I know they don't open Mercedes-Benz to 70,000 every game, but 40,000 plus, and then multiple times a year 70,000 plus. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's great for the league, no matter who is doing it. You know, we've had our fair share of spats with Atlanta fans online. You know, I'm sure every other MLS team has as well. So we're no stranger. But I mean, look, when you have a team that's as successful as Atlanta, it's good for the league. I think what is so great about Sporting KC that maybe is really rare for other teams is the consistency in the leadership, you know, whether it be the ownership or their trust in Peter Vermees as a manager and a technical director. I mean, he's going on, I think it's his 10th or 11th year, I want to say, as the head coach of Sporting KC. He's the longest tenured coach in MLS. He's the winningest active coach in MLS. He's got a clear system, you know, sometimes to a fault, but when a Peter Vermees team goes out there, you know exactly what they're going to play. It's going to be a 4-3-3. They're going to be winning possession. They're going to be pressing, and they're going to be attacking. I know that's one of the things maybe with Atlanta that's been a little bit tough to adjust to this year is the switch over from Tata to Frank de Boer. You switch an entire system, and then you lose a key player like Almiron, try to bring someone in like Pity. It's been a bit of an adjustment. So thankfully Sporting hasn't really had to deal with that.
Well, you mentioned winning possession. That'll be another interesting stat to watch this week, because I don't think Atlanta has dropped. I could be wrong here, but I don't think Atlanta's dropped below 60% possession yet this season.
No, just the one game against New England, which we won. It was weird because it felt like we had a lot of possession in that game. It just ended up in the 40% or something like that. Yeah, I'm honestly jealous of the trust, as you said, in Peter Vermees, because right now we are 7 games into the MLS season and people are calling for Frank de Boer's head, and he's essentially got a 50 or 50-50 record, or 2-3-2, whatever.
Well, just the consistency, not even in the front office, but the consistency in the fan base is admirable. I mean, what I wouldn't give to not be 7 games in and see the sort of distrust of a fan base that's had everything the past 2 years, to see it fall apart as quickly as it has is somewhat disheartening at times. And so to hear about a team that's had 125 sellout games in a row that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess as we start to wrap up in closing, a couple of things specific to SKC here. What's the run of play or run of the day leading up to kickoff typically? What are some of the tried and true fan favorites leading up to kickoff, and some of the supporter culture like out there leading up to the matches?
I think everyone likes to get out there and tailgate about 3 hours early. Cauldron has the Cauldron is the supporters group section, and they have a big old blue bus that they park, and they charge a yearly membership. And if you got a Cauldron membership card, you come drink from their kegs, and a lot of people are grilling and always got barbecue smell going on. And there is no like march to the stadium. I mean, they haven't done that in years, but everyone just kind of breaks off on their own and goes in and gets their seat. So, but I mean, the tailgate's definitely a must. I mean, if you ever have any Atlanta people coming out here, we're always very accepting to traveling supporters.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing to go see. The tailgate. I mean, I remember last year when we were at the tailgate when Minnesota United was in town, and there was like a great beer exchange. Like all the Minnesota fans got off the bus with like just cases and cases of Surly beer and other like local Minneapolis breweries, and they just started passing it out. And then they were getting our Boulevard beer, which is the big brewery here in Kansas City. And it was just really cool. I've never seen the Cauldron not be accepting of other fan bases. So it's a fun. And then when the game starts, obviously it's on. You know.
Yeah. Well, everybody's lit at that point, so just kind of let it wash over you.
Yeah.
You mentioned barbecue. I'm sure you guys get sick of hearing it. Place to go get barbecue if you're in town. Where is it? Everybody's got one, I'm sure.
Oh man, I've got a few.
What do you got?
See, if you want to get some burn ends and some brisket, Q39 is the best place, I think, to get some burn ends and some brisket. It's a newer place. The best beans, you got to go to Jack Stack. Their beans are unreal. If you want just a solid sandwich, though, go to Joe's Kansas City. Get the Z-Man sandwich. It's the best barbecue sandwich you'll ever have in your life.
Yeah, I'd probably go on the Joe's KC train. It's like a little gas station place too. It's crazy.
Oh, those are the best, man. Those are the best. We got a few of those in town here, which are fantastic. They never disappoint because they're overhead, right? You got to turn out something good there.
Oh yeah.
So I guess finally, whenever you're not supporting SKC, who's your go-to team? Doesn't have to necessarily be MLS, doesn't have to be soccer even. One of the fun things that we've done throughout this series is to find out other fan bases, other interests in other clubs, other teams, other sports around the U.S. Who are you guys watching whenever you're not watching SKC?
I'm a huge college football fan. That's my first love. I grew up in LA. I went to the University of Southern California, so I'm a big Trojan fan.
Big tuba player.
I played tuba in the band.
Oh.
Yeah, did a Rose Bowl back before we were bad. So I'm a big college football fan, but I was giving you guys crap because I see a Liverpool jersey there. I'm also an Everton fan, so I'll give as much crap as I'm allowed to give, being in the perpetual misery of being an Everton fan. So
how much stock do you put in this this run that Clemson's been in over the past few years?
Oh my gosh. Kevin is a 2-time back-to-back graduate of Clemson, and I've had to just hear it for the past 5 years. It's miserable.
Well, Dan's a Bama fan, so when I went down and was at the game when SC played Bama and lost whatever it was, 52-6. So I had to hear that for a while. I'll tell you what. I told my dad this past year. I said if I were SC and we had a coach on the hot seat, I'd open up the checkbook. I'd call Dabo Swinney and I'd say, "What's your price?"
That's a smart man.
Yeah, that's a smart man. We actually have somebody in the live chat saying Jimmy plays tuba. So do I. Connor Thompson. We have another tuba player watching us.
Tubas unite.
What about you, Dan?
I'm big Kansas basketball fan, college basketball, and big Chiefs guy as well when our players aren't beating women and kids and all that. So
yeah, it's tough, right? It's you guys drafted Mecole Hardman, right, from Georgia. He's going to replace Tyreek Hill.
Ideally, I don't think he's as fast as Tyreek, but I think he's pretty much a duplicate. So they're ready to move on.
Hope he doesn't have the off the field issues that Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't understand it, man. It's crazy. Yeah, it's just not good.
No.
Nope.
All right.
The Browns will pick him up, though. It's fine.
Oh, of course. Browns don't care.
Yeah. In closing, score predictions for this weekend. What are you guys thinking?
Dude, you guys have never beat Sporting. You guys are going to come in hot and hungry. I'm a little nervous about it, to be honest. I could see us dropping this game 2-1.
Pessimist Dan showing up, man. This is every week. I get a text at halftime, and he's like, "We're gonna lose. Emilia's bad." Like I
think we might be kindred spirits. Yeah. That whole run of clips in the past 4 years, it never fails. I'm like, start out the week, I think we got this. Middle of the week, oh no, definitely
we don't got it.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to think, It really kind of depends on what sort of lineup Vermees puts out there with all these injuries that we've had. I do think that Sporting will get a result, but I would not at all be surprised to see like a 2-2 or 3-3 draw. I think both teams probably want to go out there, put up goals, and try to right the ship, because I know neither team has had the season go the way that they want. But so a high-scoring draw would not surprise me.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning to, a draw. I don't know that. Obviously, I don't know a lot about SKC, but I don't know that Atlanta United is that team right now to go out there and just put up 4 or 5 goals, which I think it may take to come out with a win. But I could easily see a 2-2 or 3-3, like you're saying. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, we'll see. In the past few years, one of our weaknesses, especially at least in losing games, we talked about in drawing games, parking the bus, as Colorado did to us on Saturdays. Usually our weakness trying to prepare or penetrate, but the pressing, the high press and everything with it's been this has been a pretty big weakness. I don't know.
I mean, I will say the defense has gone back, it seems, to a 4-back from the 3-back, which we were rolling out at the beginning of the season. So
yeah, I don't know what to expect there either, because we kind of went to a 3-back at the end of the game on Saturday.
Well, it's because Colorado was so far back. If Colorado's not playing so far back and you're playing with a high pressing SKC team, which we can expect to see this weekend, I think you go back to the 4-back scenario just to shore up the back line. Either way, it'll be an interesting dynamic.
I like Dan's 2-1. That's what I'm going to go with. Atlanta goes in and gets a win.
Okay.
No Jacob Peterson, though.
That's right.
Might be good for us. I will say I think it's going to be an entertaining game because we see so often teams come into Children's Mercy Park and just park the bus, like you were mentioning Colorado did to Atlanta. I don't expect that at all from Atlanta.
No way.
And Sporting KC, I've never seen them park the bus at home. So I think this is going to be a fast-paced, wide-open game with a lot of running up and down the field.
I agree. I think the difference maker for Atlanta is going to be Tito Villalba. If he comes in as a super sub, knowing how much the teams are probably going to be stretched, both playing really high up. If there's a player to watch out for Atlanta that could put them over the edge for a win, it could be a late sub Tito Villalba. Right now would be my assumption. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Where can the people find the show and you guys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever content may be?
Yeah, we are on Apple Podcasts. Just search No Other Pod, search Sporting KC. You'll probably be able to find us. We're also on Spotify, Stitcher, wherever else you listen to your podcast. Find us on Twitter at No Other Pod, Facebook.com/No Other Pod. You can shoot us an email, hate mail, nootherpod@gmail.com. I'm JCMac03 on Twitter. Dan, what's your handle?
At Dan Kuzer.
Awesome.
So
thank you guys so much.
There you go.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys
for taking some time out to hang out
That's
with
cool.
us. And yeah, you guys heard it here. Be sure to go check them out, show them some love, and we'll see you guys this weekend.
Sounds good. Thanks,
See ya.
guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.